Welcome to the Full Minded with Alyssa Bette podcast, where my mission is to normalize the human experience. I believe there's power in authenticity and building a community immersed in it. I plan on bringing you on an in-depth and transparent journey of my life through solo episodes. I will also be interviewing a range of individuals who are willing to share their unique stories. On this podcast, we will dive into topics such as mental health, heartbreak, loss, change, trauma, self-love, and every other topic that makes up the human experience. While I do my very best to provide you insight and knowledge on these subject matters, this podcast is not a substitute for professional help. I am not a licensed therapist. I am simply a human sharing my experiences with the intent to help people feel less alone. If you are suffering, please consult with a licensed professional. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy the episode. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode. I am in a pretty noisy space right now. It is my hostel/hotel room, but there are many roosters out back, and my bathroom doesn't have a closed window. It's kind of like an open window. So I'm going to do my best to stay focused given the roosters are just roostering all about. How are we doing, everyone? I'm very excited to jump back on the mic because the last episode I recorded, I was fucked up. I was not doing well. And if you haven't listened to the episode before this one, the emotional side of solo traveling, I urge you to listen to it first just to kind of bring you up to speed with where I'm at. And yeah, it'll make a lot more sense listening to this episode if you tune into that one first. So it's been 2 weeks since I recorded an episode, and the last place I was Kuta, Bali, which is the very first place that I went in Bali because it's so close to the airport. And I ended up staying there for like a week because I had gotten sick with Bali belly and I needed to stay a couple extra days. Since then, I have gone to Ubud and Uluwatu, and now I'm in Canggu. And I love it. I love all of them for all different reasons. And I have decided I'm going to drop an episode when I get back from my trip and just dedicate it to my experience on this vacation and the solo travel and things to do and things to not do and places to stay and everything. I will just drop all the recommendations in one. So stay tuned for that one. But it has been quite the journey. The first 2 weeks were really tough, and I think I was expecting something different. I think when you've done solo travel before and you have this expectation, you hope it's going to be similar, if not better. And not to say it hasn't gotten better, but the first couple weeks were just really challenging. And I think a lot of it had to do with my headspace, with all the transitional things that have been taking place in my life, and also just getting sick and having CEO guilt for taking breaks. I fucking struggle with that so much. And it was just an adjustment. I took a really bad flight into Bali and it made me have a panic attack. And then I touched down and I had a few good days. And then I got really violently ill. And that took me like 5 days to recover. And then I had some good days. And then I got hit with a really bad sinus infection, which I'm still recovering from. You can probably hear it in my voice. So it's just been kind of like, and then I almost drowned. I was swimming. I was playing in the waves in Uluwatu, and it's a big surfer town. And I was just like bopping around having a good time. I didn't take it so far as to try and surf or anything. I know myself. I can barely like swim without having some sort of a crisis. And I'm a good swimmer. I have all like my swimming badges. I don't know if I feel I got badges when I was younger and I took swimming lessons. Was it badges? Anyway, I have a lot of them. I can swim, but the current was really, really strong. And so I was splashing about having so much fun. And all of a sudden the lifeguard was just whistling. And I was like, he had been whistling all day at people. So I just kind of was doing my own thing. And then I looked up and he was making direct eye contact with me. And I was like, oh no. And he was like, you need to swim away from where you're at. You're being pulled into the rocks. And then I looked around and realized my friend was like 700 yards away. And I was like, oh no. And he was just like, swim, swim. And I was like, aren't you going to save me, bitch? What the fuck? So yeah, I was just drifting towards these very sharp rocks, very, very quickly. And I was swimming with all my might and I couldn't get out. So a surfer had to come save me. I laugh because this is just Tuesday for me. It was funny because I posted the story on my Instagram. And anyone who knew me well was just like pissing themselves, right? They're like, that's so funny. Like, of course that would happen to you. And anyone who didn't know me was like, oh my God, girl, you got to be careful. I'm so scared for you. I'm literally terrified. Like, are you well? Like, have you recovered? And I'm just like, oh guys, this is just what happens to me. I feel like I want to petition for somebody to follow me around with a camera and film my life, because these random ass comical things tend to happen. But yeah, so that was pretty hilarious looking back on it now that I was safe. I think if I was alone in the water, I think I would have been so scared I would have passed away. Like I just would have fainted and then I would have drowned. But because there was like a million people, there was like hundreds of surfers behind me. There was probably 50 people swimming around me. It wasn't as nerve-wracking. But it's okay. So I feel like now that I've explained that story to you guys, that my trip has almost been like that, where I've just been like, oh my God, I love it here. And then the waves are like, whoosh, and then I'm like, ugh. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm having fun still. And then the waves are like, you know what I mean? It's been a roller coaster, but I'm a firm believer in that's just where my head's at. You know what I mean? Like you can't just go to a tropical place and have all of your worries go away. And people who think that you can do not understand the things because you cannot. I think it can help in some ways, but in a lot of ways, I feel like vacations, either solo or with your partner, with your friends, it can surface a lot of things. I think we live in such a culture and society of work, grind it out, normalizing burnout and all those things, that when we take a moment to rest, we learn ourselves. And sometimes there's a lot of shit going on underneath the surface that we don't pay attention to and we don't see because we are working so hard. So I think it's really crucial to take vacation and just go with the flow and not expect things to be perfect, not expect things to be this huge awakening. I don't know if you guys can hear these roosters. I don't know if it's going to show up on the audio, but like they are so fucking loud. It's crazy. It is distracting, but I'm doing my best. My ADHD brain is like, stay focused. But yeah, like you go on vacation and you have time away from your regular life, especially when you're solo. I feel like you have no distractions and you're just like in a foreign country, like, what up? Everything in my mind that I've ever suppressed. And I actually bought this journal the other day. I came to Canggu and I really love the vibes already. I'm staying in this cute hotelish hostel vibe. So we each have our own small room and private bathroom. And then all of our balcony, like the balcony is one. So we can kind of come out on the balcony and like mingle with other people. And then over the balcony is the pool and then the common area, which is like kitchen and stuff. So I really like this vibe. I like having the private room. And then I like being able to just mingle with people when I step outside my door. I really like that aspect. Anyway, so I come into Canggu and I check into my hotel and I go for a walk down the street and I see this cutest little boutique. I will say with Canggu, because it's so westernized, there's so many amazing restaurants, one, and there's so many cool shops and salons and tattoo parlor. Like you can get anything you fucking want here, honestly. So I go into this precious shop and it's very Bali inspired and all the outfits are flowy and gorgeous and there's perfumes that just smell like what you would imagine everyone should smell like in Bali. Like it did such a good job at encompassing the feeling of the island. It was beautiful. And then I found this Bali journal that was for sale. And I was like, oh, what is this? And I opened it up and it was basically all these prompts to get to know yourself more and questions to dive deep into yourself. And I was like, I feel like that is exactly what I need right now, because I do feel like though I'm here and willing to self-reflect, I feel like I've been trying to actively not think about what I'm going through and what is hurting me. And I'm being honest about that. I feel like I came here with the intention to heal and to find peace. And I have not put in the work to do that, because in order to do that, I need to actually be okay with tapping in on what's going on inside my mind and really being honest about it. And that can be a very scary place, especially in a time of transition when a lot of things hurt and you're grieving a lot of things and you're not really sure what's happening next. Like, it's so much easier when you've established certain things and you've gone through the heartache and you're on the other side. But to be in it is very challenging. And that's why I'm really happy that I'm just being honest with you guys about what's going on and not, like I said in the last episode, going through it, navigating it, and then being like, okay, guys, this is what I'd recommend in a situation like that. Sometimes it's nice to hear what's happening inside people's minds as they're going through it and kind of watch how they navigate hard times as well. So yeah, I bought this journal and I've been filling it out, and I'll actually read you guys a couple of the questions so you can kind of get an idea of what the journal's about, because I really fucking love it. And then also I've started meditating again. I don't know if you guys have ever meditated before. Neurotypical people or neurodivergent people, I feel like meditation is for you. It's for everyone. It's basically a way to organize your thoughts and train your brain to not overthink, to not get overstimulated. Like, it's a really, really powerful exercise to do. And I've done it many times. I've done the app called Waking Up, and it's changed my life. I've spoken about it a couple times, and then I stop. Like, I'll go through periods where I'll be doing it every single morning for like months. And then as soon as I stop, I kind of fall out of it and I forget how impactful it is. I don't know why I do that. So I've just restarted it because I know I need to go to my mind palace and figure out what's happening in there, and hopefully, let it out through this journal. Okay, so this journal was created by a woman who came to Bali looking for healing and just trying to experience something, an awakening, reconnection, everything that people come to Bali for. And so she explains a little bit about herself and her journey in the first chapter, and then it's essentially just questions that you can fill out. So the first question is, what drew you to Bali? How were you feeling when you made the decision to come here? Where were you when you made the decision? Are you running away from anything? Is there anything that you want to try and heal while you're here? Was there a defining moment that led you here? Take a moment to self-reflect and dig deeper. Think of key 3 life events. What are they? And interesting enough, I actually just answered these before I jumped on the mic. The 3 things that I chose were, I'm just going to share them, I guess. My heartbreak with a specific ex, whose name I will not mention, starting my company, Mindful Mode, and going no contact with my parents. And then it asked me to dive into how these life events changed me. And I realized that these all shaped me in a very similar manner. So they all taught me to be my own hero, my own supporter, my own cheerleader. It taught me to love myself above all else. And then I'm like, as I'm writing this out, I'm realizing each of these key events has kind of taught me to be hyper independent and make it. Like, I could no longer depend on my ex, corporate, my parents. It launched me into hyper independent mode, healer of self mode, responsible for making it or breaking it. And guess what? We doing all right. So that was kind of nice to reflect on. I like journals like that. If you're going through a transitional time right now where you're really struggling, I would urge you to both start meditation and also get some type of journal prompted journal is nice because sometimes you don't really know what to ask yourself. It's always great to journal what you're going through in general. I had journals on my phone for a long time, and I actually lost all my notes and they weren't connected to cloud. So I would recommend that if you're going to journal on your phone and you have an iPhone, make sure it's connected to the cloud, because that was very painful to lose everything. And or write in a physical journal. Some people actually like writing with a pen instead, or get something that's prompted. This has been really cool because it's like Bali themed, and that's where I am, and that's kind of why I came here. So that touched me. But yeah, I would definitely recommend getting into meditation, because when you sit silently and like train your brain to shut up, you'll learn so much about yourself, and you'll also learn how to just navigate life, how to respond to things. Like meditation is so much deeper than just sitting still and trying to not think. Like it's actually about controlling what you think and the thoughts that you allow, and not becoming attached to thoughts because they are just thoughts, and just kind of being like, hey, I'm observing that as a thought. I don't need to possess that. That doesn't need to become me. That doesn't mean it's true. It's just a thought. And we have a bunch of them all day long. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're like, this is me, I'm really struggling, I'm not really sure what to do in life. You know, it could be a heartbreak. It could be you're about to quit your job. It could be you're about to move. You're needing something. You're missing something. You're disconnected. Like those are all really great times to take up meditation and really get to know yourself more, and just be kind to yourself. Show yourself grace. Take yourself on a little trip if you can. It doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need to be across the world. It can be, you know, a little road trip or a solo date night. You can take yourself to a concert or dinner or whatever it is. Do something for yourself. Do something special and learn about yourself and learn about what you like. I feel like for so many years, I could not be alone. I would always need friends to hang out with. I remember oftentimes I would, like one friend would drop me off and another one would pass them coming to pick me up, because I just couldn't be alone. Even for a moment, it really, really made me uncomfortable. And then I also couldn't sit in silence because I always needed to be distracted, because my mind was a scary place. But the more you train your mind through therapy, through meditation, any kind of healthy coping mechanism, really, the better you get at managing your thoughts and managing your mind, and it being less scary of a place to visit on your own. I've also had some really cool conversations with people since being here. And there was this one conversation in particular that I really want to share with you guys. So I had met these girls from England. What's new? All my friends come from England. I swear to God, whenever I'm traveling, they're just drawn to me. I'm drawn to them. It is what it is. I love them. Love the Brits. And we were chatting and we were talking about kids, if we wanted kids, etc. And I said, I didn't know anymore. Kids was always a definite yes for me. And up until recently, it's now maybe not. And I was explaining why. I was like, I had a really tough childhood, and I feel like I raised my siblings. And so sometimes I feel like I already have children because they feel like mine. And also because of how much abuse I endured, I'm just scared. I'm not scared I would abuse my children, but I'm scared that I would do something to fuck them up. And I just know how that feels. And I understand I can't be a perfect parent, but it just scares me because there's some things that just stay with you. I've done 15 years of therapy on and off to undo the damage that's done to me. And I still feel like I'm just not as patient as I would like to be. There's a few qualities that I would like to improve on. And the other big piece of it is I feel like I'm finally living for myself now. Like I finally love me and I'm finally out of survival mode. And this girl said to me, she goes, that makes sense. You're only in your teen years. You're not ready to have a kid. That makes total sense. You've just broken free from your parents, just got no contact. You've just started your healing process fully. Do you know what I mean? Like I've been healing this whole time, but I feel like to let go and to not speak to your abusers and not to let them have that power over you anymore is significant. And it's not saying it's for everyone, but for me, it was necessary to almost seal all my wounds and focus on me. And just the way she phrased it by being like, yeah, you're in your teen years. That makes a lot of sense. And then we were chatting more and she said, I have a lot of queer friends who feel the same way. You know, you spend your whole life either not being allowed to be someone or hiding from who you really are. And when you finally come out of that, you're just starting to live. So I'm, you know, going to be 32, but I don't feel 32. I feel like I'm just like my early 20s. I feel like this is what my early 20s should have felt like. But instead, my 20s were me being an alcoholic and addicted to drugs and making decisions based on that. So I feel like I kind of lost that decade of my life of just grieving and just trying to cope with the intense amount of pain. So now I'm just in my teen years and I don't want to have kids because I don't feel ready. And I really am loving just being selfish. And I think it's important too to respect body autonomy. And I know there's a lot of pressures on women to have children, like it's our job and we're supposed to do that as if the population is declining in some weird way. We're not. If you're a woman and you don't want to have children, don't have children. Good on you. If you're a woman and want to have children or you already have children, good for you. Like, I just think let's celebrate whatever people want to do and just let them live their life, given it is their life, you know? No pressure. You don't have to have children if you don't want to, women. And not saying I won't change my mind. I think in a lot of ways I would make a good mama, but it's not something I want to force myself to feel like I need to do to like heal a part of me, because I know that it can be healing, especially if you've had a traumatic childhood and you gentle parent your child. I think there's a lot of healing in it, but I don't want to have a child just to heal me. It seems a bit selfish. So I won't have any until I'm 100% ready. And if I never get there, then that's okay too. I would be totally fine with that. But yeah, I just thought that was a really beautiful thing to say. It was one of my favorite pieces of advice that I've ever heard someone say, because it was just right in the moment that I needed to hear it. And I hadn't thought about it that way. I really hadn't. I just started loving myself. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to not want to be committed to anything or responsible for anything or any person. I feel like, you know, that made sense to me, but to hear it in that form, I needed to share it with you guys, because I feel like that can bring peace and comfort to a lot of people who may feel either behind in life or like they don't want to, or they're not ready to achieve the things that maybe other people are at that same age or in the same time frame. And that's okay. We're all on our own journey. There's literally no fucking rush. There's no rush at all. Take a breath. It's all good. It's all going to work out. Nothing that's for you is going to pass you. You are on the right track. It's okay. There was another conversation that I had with one of my friends while I was here, my friend from back home, and we were chatting about grief, and she has recently lost her brother, and it has been devastating to watch her be in that much pain, to say the least. And we were talking the other day, and she said, I feel like it's hard to even smile. Like, I don't want to smile. And she's like, then I felt kind of this guilt of all those times that I had walked past someone and they didn't smile back at me. And I was like, what's your fucking problem? And I was like, I feel that way all the time because I always take it personally, even though all I do all day long is preach. Everyone projects, don't take anything personally. I myself take everything personally. I try to not, but sometimes it's hard, especially if you're just something as simple as a smile. Like, why can't you smile back at me? I get offended. I'm like, I'm just trying to be a ray of light. But I think sometimes we forget, if we, one, either haven't felt that intense amount of grief yet or haven't in a while, we forget how engulfing it can be. Like, it can just completely take over how you feel, what you're going through. And I think it's so important to remember that, you know, people could have just gone bankrupt, or they could have just lost their partner, or they could have just found out they're dying. Like, we don't know what's going on with people. So it is so important to be kind and to give people the fucking benefit of the doubt. And that was something I needed to hear as well as her. And I'm sure as well as many of you listening, is that it's not about us. What people are going through has nothing to do with us. And just be gentle, be kind to yourselves and to other people, because we just don't know what's going on with them. And I just thought that was a really powerful thing as well to share. But yeah, I really liked both of those messages. I thought they were really impactful and important and wanted to share them with you guys. And yeah, I feel like I'm in a much better headspace than the last time I spoke with you. I feel like I've been able to just kind of roll with the punches, laugh it off. This sickness was a lot easier to manage, the sinus thing, than Bali belly. That was terrible. But just saying, it is what it is. I'm not going to be sick forever. It's okay. It's not that deep, and just trying to go with it. And I feel like I've met so many cool people since I last spoke to you. I think I had met one person when I was in Kuta, and she was lovely. And then since then, I came to a new city, and then I did an excursion. I actually went mudding on 4-wheelers, and we trekked through all of this mud, and then we got to see this beautiful waterfall. And I think doing group activities and tours like that is a really good way to meet people if you're solo traveling. And from there, I met more girls from England, and then they introduced me to other people. And then I ended up traveling with one person for a couple of days and then meeting up with other people there. It was just like, it's so cool. The butterfly effect of solo traveling is so powerful. Like, you make one decision and then you meet all these people from there. And since then, I feel like I've just been consistently meeting people and having dinners with them, or partying, or just whatever it is. And it's just been lovely. And I actually went to this super fucking sick day club. And my friend the other day was like, it's so funny to me that you are 2 and a bit years sober and you love to go to clubs. I love it. The last time I came to Asia was the first time that I'd ever clubbed sober. And at first it was really, really awkward. I was like, what do I do with my hands? What the fuck? But just get like a little sparkling water and dance about. I mean, there was people in Minion costumes. This was my last trip. And it was just wild. And to let loose and to defy all the odds and to finally be comfortable being you without drinking poison is like a different level of euphoria. Once you push past that uncomfortableness and you realize I'm allowed to dance without the excuse of drinking poison, it's a game changer. And so I did the same thing this trip. I just went out to clubs and bars and met people and dance my life away. And it was the best thing ever. So I had heard really good things about this day club. It's called Finn's. And it says it's the world's best day club, but there's not really, and by not really, there's no trademarking in Asia. So I don't know if they just took that name for themselves because it looked good, or if they've earned it. I'm not sure. But I'm telling you, I would rate them like a 15 out of 10. It was the coolest place ever. There was like 4 pools. I think there's 3 restaurants, 7 bars. Massive, absolutely massive. And you have a minimum spend if you want to rent a bed, which I think was $650,000, which is the equivalent of 50 Canadian dollars. And that just means minimum spend. So it's not like an additional cost. You just get to buy food and drinks and that. So I just bought some, like a coffee, some mocktails, some fruit, chips and guac, like snacks all day. It was lovely. There is so many servers always around to help you with anything you need. I met girls from Germany who I hung out with. I made friends with people from probably 10 countries that day. Like, it's so cool. I just like the environment. I just like the music. I like the sun. I like that everyone's in a good spirits. Like, I like the energy of day clubs and nightclubs for the most part. I've never felt unsafe or anything like that, especially at places like this. There's security. They've got their shit covered. Like, it's amazing. So I had the best time. I'm actually about to share some of that content on social media because, yeah, it was unreal. I had so much fun. I was so happy and genuinely happy in the moment that I like shed a tear. I was like, this is so cool. It was one of my favorite days just to do that alone, to get a cute bikini on, wear some lipstick, go have fun, and just go do it alone. Like, it boosts your confidence so much. Like, you just have no choice but to be like, let's fucking go. Like, and just dive into it. Like, it's all part of the experience, and I love it. So I've definitely cultivated some really cool memories and some really amazing moments with both myself and also friends that I've met. So it's just, yeah, ebbs and flows. And I have no idea what's next for me. I do not even know where I'm going to be next week, if I'm going to stay in Bali, if I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm not sure. Everyone's like, when are you coming home? Again, not sure. I would imagine I'll be recording probably one more episode while I'm here. So you guys are going to have to stay tuned to see where I'm at and what I'm doing and how I'm doing mentally. I'm really manifesting a breakthrough with my healing journey and with this meditation and this journal. I think it's going to pull some things out of me that need to be pulled out. So I'm really excited about what's to come. And I'm excited to share it with you guys. So stay tuned until the next episode drops. If you're following on Instagram, you already know I post updates about what's going on my trip. So if you're interested, give me a follow. And until next time, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, give people the benefit of the doubt, and just show yourselves grace, honestly, especially if you're going through a hard time. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out. Just take it one day at a time. If you can't take it one day at a time, take it 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time. Don't look at the big picture. Try to just take it one moment at a time. I feel like that helps me a lot in these situations. Don't try and forecast the next 6 months, the next year. No, just take it one day at a time. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. And until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I loved having you. If you wish to support this podcast, please follow us so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on social media at Full Minded Podcast. Please visit our website at www.fullmindedpodcast.com to submit all your questions. If you wish to be a guest on this podcast, please fill out the form on our website to apply. Your continued support means the world, so thank you again for taking the time out of your day to tune into Full Minded with Alyssa Bette. Until next time, be kind to yourselves and remember that there is power in owning our imperfect and messy lives. It's all a part of the human experience, and you're not alone in it.